see on that one? Did you feel like you could get one against them? Just a low kick? What did you see on that?
Just a normal week. I mean, every week we emphasize getting a good push inside and get your hands up every time because you never know, it could be a low kick, and that happened to be just a little bit of a low kick, and we had our hands up, and Leo got his hand on it first, and then it deflected off of Mike Dana's hand, and huge play ended up in that game. It was. We always talk about that now. Ever since then. I mean, we talk about how important it is to get your hands up and get that good push.
Dave, anecdotally, it seems like teams are maybe returning more when they're like just 1 or 2 yards deep in the end zone. Are you seeing that happen?
Yeah, because you don't know if it's going to be a touchback or not, and you don't want to let the ball hit. So anything around, like you got your eyes up, and you can't tell exactly where your feet are. So you'll see guys catching it on the run and then coming out, even though they're 2 yards deep. That's why that happens.
So that was probably an expectation going into the year. Then.
Yeah, you got to be aggressive with it. You can't just assume the ball is going to be a touchback. You have to go field it. You don't want that ball to hit and then get the ball to 20 if it bounces in. So.
Anybody else? All right.
Are you kidding me? That's awesome.
Great. Thanks.
How's everybody doing today? Good to see you. Beautiful day. Weather's changing a little bit, huh? Which is a great thing. I'll just kind of open it up. I'm ready to go. Bye week. Right?
Steve, why'd you feel like your game plan was as effective as it was last year against these guys?
Oh, I don't know. I think back and I always think we could have done a little bit better, Adam. We did some good things, but I thought they kind of moved the ball. We played decent in the red zone. Trying to go back now. There was the trick play they got the score on, right? We were aided by early on they were moving the ball. It was really good to get that turnover in the first drive. That kind of helped us. I thought the guys played really hard. They were on point. We had 2 weeks to prepare. I really kind of just put it back on the players. They were just that hungry. And listen, this offense is still a headache to defend. I know they're minus the running back, but I think the guys that have plugged in there for them still make that whole system effective. So we're going to have a pretty good challenge in this one, too.
Seems like you played a lot of man that day or that night. Of the benefits of playing man against that particular opponent, what did you see in that?
I think the quarterback's really good against zone and finding those pockets and spaces, and I think the receivers adjust routes to do that. That makes it really challenging in zone. Now, one of the things you got to remember is we had, last year was a little different. LJ was here, and Trent, we had him in a different spot, and so we'll see if we can do the same things. But I just think their system is built that they really can expose zone coverage, and yet I think they got enough skill that if you don't have the right man people covering their men, that can be challenging too. It's going to start up front and stop in the run, and hopefully we can get the quarterback not to be in timing like he is, because I can't find a weakness in this quarterback. Every time I put the film on, I'm more and more impressed. It's funny, I was watching, you guys will have a better idea of the year. When did we go out there and play in a regular season game? Yeah, and it was at the end of the game, and I think they had taken Garoppolo out, and it was Brock Purdy, and I had forgotten that, but he ran the 2-minute drill and kind of got him down there, and then I think we picked it off at the end. But he looked pretty good then, not like he is now. But I'm really impressed with the quarterback.
It seems like one of the
Dana might be down this week. Just given Dana might be down, what tangible ways have you seen growth from Felix? And
Yeah.
especially week 4 when Dana was out.
Yeah, I've been pleased with and this is a great opportunity for him, right? One guy goes down, another guy gets some more reps, and when Mike has gotten hurt, Felix's reps have gone up. Same will happen with Malik. He's getting better and better at everything he does. He made a mistake yesterday. It's sticking out. It was in a walkthrough, but he'll get that one. I'm glad he made it, yesterday, because then he'll fix it in the game. But no, he just keeps building, and that's a good thing.
You mentioned Purdy being pretty good. One of the things he seems to particularly adept at is against the blitz. Obviously,
Yeah.
you've been blitzing a lot. I'm not asking you to give away a game plan, but what's that fine balance?
Yeah.
Wanting to blitz versus a quarterback that's good against it.
Yeah, we're never going to go in the game and not blitz at all because we're fearful of it. But I think we do have to respect the fact that he knows exactly what to do with the football. To me, the most impressive thing is even if it wasn't getting it out quick on a blitz, he has a unique way of getting away from it. I just showed a play this morning where I forget what team it was, but they brought quite a few people. He didn't blink. He didn't panic at all, and boom, and he was out of there. And I think he might have gained 2 yards or got the ball away. But that's a pretty good weapon for them to have to negate, that part of our defense.
Could you kind of explain how Chris affects games without piling up big sack numbers?
Yeah. Well, you saw it last week. The Saints, I think, paid a lot of attention to Chris and the way they protected in the pass game. That's going to happen a lot. It doesn't happen all the time. Somehow we got to find a way for Chris to win a couple of those even when he's doubled. And when that does happen and they do choose to put a lot of attention on one guy, somewhere in there, somebody's got a one-on-one. Somebody's got to step up and win. And we've had a little bit of that. We'd like to have a little bit more of that. But it's good. I think the other 10 guys on the field appreciate the fact that we have a guy like Chris that demands that kind of attention and possibly can open up something for somebody else.
As you look back at the bye, from week 1 forward in training camp, just what was your evaluation of the depth of the cornerback room?
Yeah. Well, listen, Jalen has kind of stepped up and played some pretty good football. Nazi's been out there. You've seen it, Josh. We've kind of rolled those guys through. I think they all need to stay ready. Trent, obviously. And, Chamari having filled in and played that nickel spot has really helped. That's not easy to ask a safety to do. But I think we're going to need all those guys. I mean, I think Dave and Donald have done a great job with that whole group, the continuity, the chemistry, the way they work with the linebackers has been helpful. And if we can keep playing as a unit, and not a bunch of individuals, that'll help us going forward.
Couple more.
Are you getting more from Watson than maybe you anticipated?
Man,
He missed so much time at camp?
Well, that part, I forgot about that part. Yeah, we didn't have them at all in the off season, a lot of training camps. So the answer to that question would probably be yes. I had no expectations going in. What I was looking forward to was the battle between the three of them, and it was a pretty good battle. I mean, Nazi got hurt, and Josh was in there and out of there. But somebody had to surface. Right now it's been Jalen. We got a long way to go here. I think those other two guys are ready. Nazi gets in there a little bit here and there, but we'll see as we keep going forward.
Last one, Nick.
Steve, when you go against Kyle Shanahan blocking scheme, how you may do formations, emotions, everything about it, how tough is it to kind of combat that?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the whole eye candy. I mean, there's a lot of movement up there for reasons. They get your eyes all over the place. They can disrupt support and run systems, and that's why they do it. They try to soften you up a little bit. We have a good group of guys that have worked well together. We need to do that, all day long out there in San Francisco, because all it does is take one misfit, and this any running back they put back there, but especially the number 24 has been doing a really good job of it. That's what the system is built for, and we got to negate that by kind of being on point. I think our eyes are probably the biggest thing.
Thank you, Coach.
You got it. Thanks.
Yes.
What's the expectation for Clyde when you get him back?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll leave that up to Coach. He's done I'm sure he has a plan and that sort of thing. Clyde's been great in meetings, and we all know who Clyde is, what he can do. But just, again, I go back to who he is as a person and what he's all about. And I think we just have so much appreciation for him, and just let that go with Coach and Veach and let them play that out.
Juju's game last week, I mean, obviously very good. What signs do you have that maybe that's more repeatable than somewhat of an outlier?
His experience in the league, his experience within this offense, his experience with Pat, there's a trust factor there. So I knew it wasn't going to happen overnight or right away. And you don't know how many more of those will happen, but when you have a guy that is able to get in the right spots and you build that trust with the quarterback, and Juju has that. He's been to the highest level with us and has had success, and so it's just a matter of, okay, let's get him in, let's see what he does well, let's fit that with what we do, let's do what he does well in our offense and let it roll.
Matt, when you go through a circumstance where you don't expect Rashid to come back, but now you have another top rookie receiver, is there certain things you can take from what happened last year with Rashid being brought along maybe faster than most receivers, and some ways can apply that for both Xavier and Patrick?
Probably the patience is the biggest thing, is that Rasheed took a little bit of time. There was a few plays that occurred middle of the season where you're like, as a coach, you go, yeah, that's what we know he can get to. I think that was probably the same way too with Pat when he saw a couple of those plays. And so, like, they're different receivers, Xavier and Rasheed, but we can kind of see what their strengths and weaknesses are. And then there's some times that you might run a certain route or concept that you didn't know they could do that well, or vice versa, that maybe we thought you could do better that they struggle with. So then we try to, either do more of that or less. But there's patience is probably the biggest factor in this. And then, but again, I'll continue to go back with Xavier, and Rasheed was the same way, as these guys are smart kids that have high football IQs. So it makes that part of the process easier.
Matt, when you get a whole bye week to kind of maybe look over some things, see if you want to recalibrate in red zone, first 15, whatever, what were you able to kind of, how beneficial is that for you?
It's always great because things slow down. Sometimes we say you can be in the weeds when you go week to week, especially when you get into like week 10, 11, 12. And sometimes you focus so much on what the opponent does and you forget that they're watching what you do, and you got to make sure that there's tendencies aren't as magnified to them. And so it gives us a chance to step back. What are we doing well? What do we need to be better at? I think this last game, it's pretty obvious we want to be better in the red zone, but there's a lot involved there. So we probably emphasized a little bit more there in the time we had. But at the same point in time, we feel very confident with who we have and what we're doing, and now just going out and executing.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Oh, I was just going to say, speaking of tendencies, kind of inside baseball a little bit, but you guys almost are going to on pace to double your runs for inside zone and double your runs for power. I just wondered what that says about you guys and your offensive identity and your offense this year.
Yeah, it's interesting because probably every year there's some type of scheme that you do a little bit better than others, and maybe it's based off of personnel, whether that's the O-line, tight ends, or running back. Sometimes it's just scheme, what the defense is giving you, and other times it's a combination of all that. So it doesn't surprise me when you say that. And we know we're the fact that when you're able to run the football like we've been able to do, it's a stress reliever for offensive linemen in pass pro. For the quarterback, it gives you a breather every now and then. And we want to be able to keep that going because you want to be balanced. You want to have an identity, number one. So sometimes you can kind of have like the Cheesecake Factory where there's a bunch of stuff on the menu and different types of plays and concepts in the run or pass. We want to get a nice, tight Italian menu.
I don't want to speak for you, but inside zone power seems kind of like downhill. I mean, have you guys gotten a little bit of that?
Probably.
Mentality?
Yeah, I think so. That is something that, Coach Heck and Coach Matei do a great job emphasizing in OTAs and then taking that to transfer to the season and kind of see where we're at. You get pullers and gap schemes, stuff like that. It's downhill. We've been a zone, mid-zone, outside zone, inside zone team for a long, long time. And that continues. And then we just want to be able to make sure we're putting the guys collectively in the right spots.
Last
Yeah, go ahead.
couple here. We're
Go
going to
ahead.
go Nick, Blair, Nate. Jesse, go ahead though.
Yeah.
You guys are second in success rate, rushing-wise. I just wondered what you attribute that to.
Probably, number one, the players, the executing the scheme. I think, again, I give a lot of credit to Coach Heck and Coach Matei for coming up with a lot of the ideas throughout the week and putting it together. And it's a mentality. You got to be able to have that. And specifically, too, I think situationally, you want to be good, whether that's, 3rd and 1, short yardage, if it's in the red zone. 4-minute, we tend to be in that a lot, which is a good thing. You want to be able to run the ball when they know you're going to run the ball. And then it's the players. They do a great job. So we want to keep it going because it's friendly to the quarterback and to us as coaches.
Matt, I know you got a big high school game coming up
Yeah.
tomorrow. You and another coach on staff. How are you guys handling that this week?
Yeah, he has Coach Merritt has the bragging rights from last year, but it's been fun. He's been great. The boys, it's great football right now. The high school football there, those coaches do a great job. The players and coaches, staff, they all do great. So it'll hopefully be a fun Friday.
I just want to ask you, one, he's got a big challenge coming up this weekend. Just how has he done since taking over the starting role?
I think he's done a good job, and he's gonna continue to grow every week. I mean, there's areas where whether it's in the run game schematically. But you could probably say that with a lot of the guys. And just with him being a newer starter, we're going to make sure that we stay on top of that. If it's in pass pro, making sure we're anchoring and everybody keeping that pocket as clean as possible for Pat. You want to be able to have that. But I'm happy with where he's at. He continues to work at it. And the best part for Wanye and all these guys is good practice habits, is making sure you can transfer your practice habits to the game. So he's doing well.
Matt, this is a little bit taking you back, but in 2017, there's so much discussion. I know you've been asked before about Alex's impact on Patrick, but is there a moment, an example where without Alex that year, had Patrick been the starter, I know it's a little bit of a hypothetical, you could tell yourself Pat would not be able to do that as well if there was no presence like Alex?
It's a really good question. I would say there's a lot to that I could go on for a while, but probably just to keep it short and sweet, for him, meaning Patrick, I don't know how it would have went. I think it would have went well, but protection-wise, right? That's probably the hardest thing and biggest challenge that quarterbacks run into, because these defensive coordinators, as we know here with Spags, they do a great job trying to break down protections. And if you don't understand how protections work and you're not protected, you're not going to succeed. So protections were very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
My first question is there a difference between having a bye week as early as you guys have this year and having one after, I don't know, week 11, week 12, which is what you've been used to around here?
You know what? The formula is pretty much the same. I mean, personally, I thought it'd be kind of nice to have a little bit of a later bye week, but you don't get to choose. But at this point, we're taking it in stride. It's nice that we had some time to, get away from football a little bit. But as soon as we got back in the building, we're hitting the pedal to the metal. We're getting right back into it, getting ready to roll. So exciting game, exciting opponent, exciting opportunity for all of us in the building to go out there and show what we got.
Just more in the frame of you being one of the defensive leaders, when it comes to Felix, might have an elevated role this week with Mike out. Just how have you seen him behind the scenes work toward?
Yeah, it's consistently gotten better. One of the biggest things is training camp. Training camp this year, Felix really did a great job showing up a lot more. Being a lot more consistent and really starting to develop. Being in the trenches is one of the harder transitions from college to the NFL than say skill guys. Skills usually transfer a little bit more, but those big guys in the trenches, once they have a year or two under their belt and get a little bit comfortable in the scheme, they really start to shine. And Felix has been doing a great job being consistent, showing up, having a great attitude, picking up the coaching points. The guys around him like Chris, like Mike, like those other guys, like George, Mike himself have been helping him, and I think that's showing up.
Along those same lines, how impressed have you been with Jalen Watson and him taking that role?
Huge. That was the big question mark coming into this year was who was going to step up, and Jalen absolutely has stepped up and been consistent, has put together a nice couple of weeks here, and that's great, and we're proud of what he's done. But now it's about what are you going to do this week? What are you going to do next week? It's about how you're going to continue to get better and continue to elevate. So we're looking forward to him continuing to do that.
Justin, taking on a tight end, potentially the caliber of George Kittle, what kind of challenges does he present?
Oh, huge challenge. All around tight end. I mean, him and Kelsey are like the two best in the business, but he does it all. He runs vertical routes, runs pivot routes, big red zone target. Brock Purdy, very comfortable guy for Brock Purdy to throw to, great hands. Willing blocker. I'm sure everyone's seen the tapes of him blocking guys. Loves to get down and dirty, but just a fun guy to go against. And for me, those are the type of challenges that you want as a guy that covers tight ends, is to go against guys like that and see where you step up with it.
George doesn't seem afraid to chirp a little bit. Do you like that aspect sometimes of the in-game back and forth?
Yeah, I mean, it makes it a little more fun. The more years you get into it, but it's always very friendly at the end of it.
And for you guys collectively as a secondary, you're going against the likes of Ayuk, Samuel, Jennings, and Kittle. kind of what do you have to kind of be right on when you're defending against them?
Well, they have a lot of talent. I mean, this is still a Super Bowl team from last year. Super talented group, super talented quarterback, skill position in the trenches, Trent, Williams, all over the place. So they do what they do, and our challenge is to just be consistent with the plays. Stop the run game, try and limit the explosive plays in the pass game. They're very dynamic, and we have a game plan going forward to them. So we're just going to stay consistent, focus on what our job and responsibility is each play, and try not to make it any bigger than what it is, which is just another football game for us to go out and show what we got.
So you mentioned eye candy and how much they like to use that. Just how much are you preaching to your guys, just eye discipline this week with this?
Oh, huge. I mean, this game, Shanahan, his whole tree, big on emotions, big on the eye candy, things going all over the place. And the most important thing as a defense is to make sure that we're all on the same page. We all see things the same way. We all react the same way. And if we do that, I think that we have a strong chance to be successful.
Just from a player's perspective, what kind of season is Chris Jones having?
I mean, this guy is taking on 3 blocks every play. So just very, very explosive guy, a guy that opposing offenses have to have a plan for week in and week out. And not even just the plays that he makes, which he's still making a ton of them, but the plays that he helps everybody else makes by attracting so much attention that other guys get opportunities to make plays.
Anything else? Thanks, guys. Thanks,
Sure.
Justin.
Yep.
go for Chris.
Chris, what's it like to go against the 49ers again?
It's fun. No, it's going to be competitive. Energy is going to be high. It's a good team. One of those better teams that you could probably have the possibility to see in February. So we know what's at stake. We know the challenge ahead of us, and we're excited for it.
Chris, as a defensive lineman, is there certain stats you wish that could be evaluated on and kind of be based on the impact you have on a game versus just like, did they get a sack or not?
Are we talking about this team or defensive line
Just
as a
in
whole?
general, as defensive line, that do you wish there was some kind of stats that you could base more on than just if the person got a sack or not? For example, you take on double and triple teams, and you know you have an impact in the backfield. Do you wish there was any stats that would be for defensive linemen that aren't readily available right now?
No, I think it's all varies, you know. You look at a guy like Quentin Williams, he doesn't have the stats, but the impact that he has on that defensive line, that defense as a whole doesn't compare to what he's doing in a game, throughout the game, taking on a double team so somebody else can get open. So, you know, when you take that into account, I mean, you know, I don't think as a defensive lineman, it's hard to be appreciated as much unless you got 10 to 15 sacks and, you know what I mean, unless you got the numbers. But it doesn't take away from what he's contributing to their team and their defense success. And I think that's just overall, you know what I mean, when you look at a lot of guys who doesn't have the numbers but having such an outstanding year that the numbers doesn't match up. You know, it's one of those type of games, man, and it's okay to not have the numbers. They've been through it before. You know, you can't pay attention to numbers. Team success is the best success, you know what I mean? So I'm not really a numbers guy. I don't really care, you know. It is good to have the numbers, though.
Well, Chris, ignoring the numbers, do you feel, are you satisfied with the impact you're having on these games?
I'm never really satisfied, man, because I want the numbers, okay? They don't really matter, but I would love to have like 2 sacks every game. But I think more so importantly, it's about winning the game and playing the best you can play with your ability. And if, God willing, I get the numbers with it also. But then you got to understand that sometimes you might not get the numbers no matter how hard you work during the off season and how much you prepare. Sometimes just the ball doesn't fold in your hand. And sometimes you have those type of years, you know. And those are learning curves you can learn from. But you can't let that deter towards your worth or what you consider yourself as a player because you don't have the numbers. That can be challenging on the mental aspect of it. But it's bigger than the numbers, you know what I mean? Sometimes the impact is bigger than your personal numbers. Sometimes it's not about you. Sometimes it's about the players around you, you know? So I think when you take that into account, most of the time it's about the unselfish play. You got to get yourself out of that mind frame of me and think about more so people around you, because if the people around you succeed, then you've done more than enough.
That's my point. I mean, are you satisfied that even though your numbers, your stat numbers aren't necessarily huge, that you're having that?
Listen, man, we played 5 games. I got 3 sacks. I'm not complaining. You know what I mean? Listen, like I say every year, I get my numbers. Might be early, might be later. You know, I never really harp on, I got to get these certain numbers before this. Listen, I got 5 games, 3 sacks. I'm cool. 10 games with 8 sacks. I'm cool. All right, so we just gonna continue to ride this ship and let it go.
Chris, what do you think of what Turk's given you guys this year?
Oh, he's been tremendous for this defense. He's made a lot of progression from last year. I mean, last year was his first year back coming off the ACL, and most importantly, we knew Turk's capabilities and what he could do and what he could bring to this team. It was more so about him getting healthy. And he's been so good so far. First quarter of the season, he's been excelling and propelling in the right direction. So we just got to keep that consistent and continue to get better throughout the rest of the year.
And then what stands out about Dominic Cooney, 77 for 49ers, rookie, when you watch him on tape?
I mean, the offensive line worked well together, and then they got a outstanding quarterback at Brock Purdy. So looking forward to the matchup.
Do you remember the first time, Chris, where you got double teamed at a consistent manner, or you felt like the opposing team sort of game plan for you more specific than maybe earlier in your career?
Listen, my mind is everywhere right now. I can't fucking remember 5, 6, 7 years ago. But no, that's just the respect level. Oh my God. Knock on wood. I hope it don't come too early. But that's just the respect level that you have. I'll take it offensive when I don't get double teamed. You know what I mean? So that's the challenge I look forward to, facing double teams the whole game. And when the time comes, I get a one-on-one block. I make sure I try to win it to my best ability.
Couple more.
Chris, obviously you separated team success and individual success, but when you're one of these top defensive players in the league, what would a defensive player of the year accolade mean to you just in the course of your life and career?
I think as a personal aspect and as a selfish individual, looking at it from just my perspective, and I mean a lot, but I'll take a damn Super Bowl over DPOY any day. You know what I mean? You look at J.J. Watt, right? I have so much respect for J.J. Watt, one of my favorite all-time players. I'm quite sure he'll trade all 3 of his DPOYs for 3 Super Bowls, right? So you're talking to a guy who got 3 Super Bowls. I mean, we win another Super Bowl. Middle fingers up to a DPOY, okay? But we win another Super Bowl with a DPOY, okay? Now we're talking, you know what I mean? So, like, personal stats, man, you know, if it equals team success, I'm all for it.
Anything else?
Team stat-wise, you guys have really taken opposing teams' running backs out of the equation. Can you put your finger on, why it is that you guys are so good at that?
Well, when you look at the big guys we got up front, we got Mike Pennell, we got Derek Nottie, those 330-pound brothers right there. And, we got Tershawn Warren playing his best game. You know what I mean? We got George Karlaftis stopping the run at a high level. We got Mike Dana. And we got Phillips coming along. We got a lot of guys who has been contributing to the team's success, and we got our linebackers who's flowing down hills. Whether it's Leo Chanel, Nick Bolton, we got guys that's flying downhill, and we got a defense like that, and we got some of the best tackling corners in the league right now. So we continue to have that and continue to prove on that. I think we can be better.
Last one.
It's potentially a big week for Felix. Just curious the growth you've seen from him in here too.
Listen, man, I said it during training camp. Felix is he's playing some really good ball. He's coming into himself, and I think that happens with repetition, catching the speed of the game, coming out of K-State. Different type of game, you know what I mean? If it was the SEC, I'd be different about it, but I'm biased. But no, he's coming into himself. He's progressing well. I think that's a lot to do with Joe Cullen in the room, and we continue to demand better out of him, and he's taking it well. So you got to continue to be consistent with it and continue to get better off of that, continue to build.
Thank you, Chris.
No
Thank
problem.
you, Chris.